Welcome and thanks everyone for joining us for the Virtual Investor Series. My name is Andy Langsford, the founder of Venture Real Estate. We're a brokerage, investment, and development firm. We're based here in Bellevue, Washington. And Greg, thanks for joining us.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, really good to have you. So we're actually going to be interviewing some of the brightest talent, I would say, in the United States. Greg's a phenomenal attorney, but here in the Northwest for sure. And what we're going to do is we're going to cover two real-life examples. We're going to cover a small syndication deal, a 7-unit apartment complex, and then we're also going to cover a 100-plus unit deal that we co-developed. So small deal and a large deal, two real-life examples. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and we're going to do multiple videos. So this is going to be the first one. So hopefully you'll join us for the other ones as well. But I'm just going to introduce Greg. So Greg is a great attorney. He's been our attorney for quite a few years. And Greg's has practiced business transactional work for more than 30 years.
Long time.
Which is amazing. As a broad-based practice, including external general counsel representation, including helping us on numerous things, mergers and acquisitions, corporate finance, real estate, succession and exit planning. So quite the repertoire.
Yes, and real estate syndications today, right?
Yes,
we'll talk about that.
Definitely. So today is real estate syndication. So again, thanks for joining us, Greg, but we'll dive right in. So Greg, first question, and like Greg mentioned, this is going to be a lot about syndication. Greg, what is most important when setting up a syndication on a small multifamily project similar to 4000 California?
Yeah, I think the biggest and most important thing is, especially if you're doing a smart syndication, a lot of times it's going to be maybe the first time you've done it or second time. And I would say know the rules, right? How to do syndications, which means you have to provide full disclosure to your investors. You have to apply for an exemption from registration of all the securities that you're issuing because you're selling securities essentially in the investment. And so making sure you know those rules really well. And I think a lot of first-time kind of syndicators, developers don't, and they'll take money from people. They won't have done the proper disclosure. They won't have done the proper filings that they need to do. They maybe have solicited money on the internet and they didn't seek the proper exemption for that, so they can get themselves in trouble. And if you don't follow the rules right on a syndication, and the state finds out about it, the Department of Financial Institutions, then you can get what's called a consent decree against you, and then you can't raise money anymore, and it's not good, right?
Yeah.
So
follow the rules.
So I think the biggest thing is know the rules and follow the rules.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's partly why we have Greg. Know the rules and follow the rules. And if we have a question, call Greg.
Absolutely.
Call Greg. Oh no, that's really good. Okay. Question number 2, in a small multifamily syndication, what should investors consider when investing in a deal?
Yeah, obviously you want to look at the project. Do you like the project? Does the return, is it what you want to accomplish in doing an alternative investment like real estate? But assuming they'll check those 2 boxes, I think the next biggest thing is looking at the team. So, who's the sponsor? Do they have experience? Have they done deals before? Have they been successful in deals like this? Looking at, who's the contractor, right? Has a contractor been involved in deals like this before? Does a contractor have a good budget? Do you think they can meet the budget? All those kinds of things. And then the lender, right? What's the lender looking like? Do they have a good lender in place? Do they have their financing lined up? That kind of thing. And then I think, there's other professionals like the lawyers and the accountants and things that you want to see. Do they have all that put together and have a good team? Because ultimately the success of those smaller projects is going to be completely dependent upon the good experience that team has. And if they have a good experienced team, then that's going to make the success much more likely. Yeah,
no, it's true. Yeah, we've seen with deals that we've done, if you have a weak team member, like you're saying, it affects everything.
Yeah,
Really
if you have a bad contractor, it can be a big problem. If you have a property manager, right, that you're going to use that's not doing a good job, getting the space leased up after you rehab the units, that's a big problem. So having the good team together with good experience, I think that's super important.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's really good. It's so true. Okay, next question. What can go wrong? You
All
know,
sort-
it's easy to talk about what can go right, but what have you seen
Yeah, I think
through
I
your
think
years?
it depends on the type of project. So if it's like an apartment project, you're going to buy and do some light rehab to it. There's less risk to those. If it's more of a ground-up construction, right, like a 4,000 or whatever, and you want to do more significant rehab, maybe you're buying a smaller property and you're adding units, right, or you're combining units. I think the biggest problem is there's a construction overrun, right? So you have a big budget problem, and your financing was set up for a certain level of construction, and it's hard to go back and get more money from the lender once you've started the process and opened the ground up or opened up the walls. And so I think that's the thing that seems to me to be happening the most. And it's been happening a lot lately because you've had COVID delays, right, that have caused construction costs to go up. You've had contractors have been really busy. They haven't been able to staff it as well. They've had trouble staffing because people aren't wanting to work because of COVID. And so, you know, the last 6 months, that's been a big issue, is that kind of stuff. And going forward in the Seattle market, I think that's going to continue to be a challenge because even though maybe there's some challenges in the economy in other parts of the country or outside the world, the Seattle market still seems pretty robust as far as that goes.
Yeah, no, it's true. It is. And that is definitely a challenge when there's delays and like you mentioned on the contractor side, if someone doesn't want to work, but then we do have a busy market. So a lot of contractors are busy. So finding great contractors is key. Just like we're talking about with the team, having the right team is huge.
Yeah, and you need that, and so that's, you know, super important, especially on a smaller project because you have to be efficient, right? You don't have a lot of room, contingency room, right? If you make a mistake or you have a delay or a cost overrun, there's just not as much room in a smaller project for those kinds of problems. And so you have to be super efficient and really on your game.
Yeah, no, you do. And I would say when things go wrong, you know, when you work with someone multiple times, you have a relationship and you can work through things. So even on 4,000 California, we had some delays and our contractor was really good. So working through different scenarios, right? It's a lot easier when you have an established relationship with someone and you have that trust.
Right.
You know, so you can work through it.
Yeah,
So
it's nice to see somebody that, like I'm working on a project right now for a client, and one of the partners is contributing some land, the other one's doing the construction. And I was talking to the attorney who's representing the partner that's contributing the land, and one of the first things he went and looked at was, what's the team, right? And he talked about, I looked at your developer, I looked at your contractor, I looked at the financing you got lined up, and he goes, checked all those boxes, so he felt more comfortable telling his client, it's okay to contribute the land to this venture.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's key. Yeah, you have to have the right team.
Yes.
So, and if we have a check, we're walking through the contractor. It's like, nope, you got to find the right one.
Yeah.
Got to find the right team. So that's great. Okay, so what has changed now? And we talked about COVID. Obviously, that's the season that we're in is the COVID season.
Yeah.
We're 6 feet apart, social distancing.
Right.
So
trying to maintain that, right? Don't want to get in trouble.
Yeah, exactly. But COVID, what have you seen, Greg, with COVID on from your perspective?
Yeah, I think the biggest, there's probably 3 things. One is delay, right? It's like we talked about.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of delays in projects, which has increased financing costs, which has put the developer under stress or the project under stress. So that's one. The second thing has been, the moratoriums, right? And so for existing projects or ones that you're trying to lease up, right? Or you have leased and then they're not, you're not able to evict a tenant right now if they're not paying rent. You really don't have, your hands are really tied. And so that's put a lot of stress on projects. And we'll continue to do that until that gets eliminated, right? Or until the governor decides to release those moratoriums. And then the other thing has been financing, right? The lenders, if you're looking to finance a new project, to acquire some property or to get construction financing for a project, whether it's rehab or ground up construction, the financing underwriting standards are a lot tighter right now. So it's harder to get as much money as you need, which means you have to come up with more equity if you want to do the same project than if it was a year ago.
Yeah.
So those have been challenging, I think, in a lot of ways. And eventually COVID will go away, right? I mean, I always said, I was completely wrong on this, right? In March, I was like, oh yeah, they'll be done in June. I just didn't know it was June of 2021 or maybe June of 2022 at this point, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just...
I thought the same thing. Yeah. I think the majority of all of us thought that. But yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's stuck around a lot longer than all of us thought.
Yeah, and it's not going away anytime soon, unfortunately.
No, it's not. Yeah.
So you definitely got to plan for that. The other thing we tell clients, if you are raising capital, is to make sure, one of the key pieces of raising capital, doing it correctly, is having full disclosure. Mm-hmm. So that means you need to disclose to your investors what a reasonably prudent person would want to know in making an investment. So you have to disclose all the risks of a construction project or a real estate acquisition or financing, things like that. And today you got to disclose COVID, right? And the effect of a worldwide pandemic and the economy and how that may or may have an unanticipated impact on your project down the road that we don't know about.
Yeah.
And so we're having clients put COVID disclosures in their investor documents.
No, it's good.
That we didn't have to put in 9 months ago.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like the truth.
Yes.
Telling folks the truth. That investors, when things don't go right, telling them, hey, this is what's going on. This is how if we do that, we'll tell exactly what's going on with the project, which helps build trust.
Right.
This is what's going on, and what I like to do. This is what's going on. This is how we're going to fix it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, very true. Absolutely right on.
Yeah. No, it's good. Question number 5. Project like this takes time, and we talked about it, the team, general contractor to the lender. I actually just wanted to touch on the lender side of things. So how have your top clients done with working with lenders currently during COVID? Do you have any examples of situations where they've worked with lenders and where they're doing well?
Yeah. It's a tough time, right? In a situation like this. So what I would say is number 1, communication. Mm-hmm. Number 2, communication. Number 3, communication, right? And so the borrowers we've worked with that are having decent experiences with their lenders are talking to them all the time, like you were just talking about, mm-hmm. right? Being transparent, communicating what's going on with the project, telling them what you're doing, how you're trying to address the problem. If you've got some people that are in your project that you can't get rid of because of a moratorium, if you're having construction delays because of COVID and that's hurting your pro forma budget, what's going on there, talking to investors about the same stuff, letting the lenders know, talking to them about some kind of getting to them early and saying, hey, I'm going to need some a relief on some of our interest payments for 6 months or 9 months or whatever. Hey, we're going to go out and raise some additional capital. We're going to get whatever, right? Whatever your plan is to address it. But I think don't wait and hope it goes away. I think the best thing is to get in early and start talking to those lenders, which works great for the local, if you got a local lender, right, who you can talk to. Mm-hmm. Some of my clients have done financing on larger projects that are conduit loans, and trying to get a hold of a conduit lender and get them to even call you back is almost next to impossible right now. So that's a little more challenging in that market. But for a smaller, like 7-unit type project, you're going to have a local lender. You're going to have a banker here locally that you can talk to that did the loan for you. I think just talking to them consistently, when things are going well and also when things aren't going as well, just so they're up to speed on what you're doing.
No, that's good.
Because they don't want to take your project back.
Yeah.
Right. The last thing they want to do is take a project back right now. They want to give you room. They want to help you get through this. Everybody kind of views this as temporary, right? And eventually we'll get through it, and the Seattle market will recover back to normal, hopefully.
Yeah.
Right. But we'll get back to where we need to be.
Yeah.
And the lenders know that, so they view this as kind of, at least the ones I've talked to, view it as kind of a temporary thing that we got to just kind of weather, and everybody needs to be in this together.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's good. So, and from a project standpoint, like which we'll be talking about, our 100 plus example is actually doing well. So I think depending on is doing well. Our 4,000, we have a couple of vacancies, but overall, tenants are still paying rent. And I think typically they want to do the right thing most of the time.
Yeah, so, I think I totally agree with you, Andy. I think if I look at all the clients I know who've got a bunch of apartment projects in the area, in the Seattle area in particular, I agree. I think they're doing okay. Like, it wasn't, back in March and April, everybody was predicting 40% vacancy rates and all this disastrous stuff, and that hasn't happened at all. Yeah. I think some of the smaller projects, if you have 10 10 units and you have 2 that are either you can't kick them out because they're not paying rent or they're vacant and you can't replace them, that hurts, right? I mean, 20% vacancy is hard, right? And it's only 2 units, but it's still 20% on a 10-unit deal. Larger projects are able to kind of bear that a little bit better. I think, this area is fortunate. A lot of the people are in the tech industry, that are renting these apartments, and they're, still getting paid. They're working from home. They're doing whatever, and so it seems to be working okay. Interestingly enough, the clients who've had more trouble lately have been from the riots, right? So we have some clients who have projects kind of downtown, and they've had trouble refilling some of their units because people don't feel real safe.
Yeah.
And so hopefully as that passes and hopefully the Seattle City Council makes some good decisions there to kind of fix that up and we get a better situation so people feel safer downtown.
Absolutely. Well,
then that'll be good.
Yeah, a lot of landlords in Seattle are hoping for that. And that's just the truth.
Yeah.
Hoping that in Seattle that market gets more landlord friendly, and tenant friendly is fine, but I think there should be a balance. So for sure. But interesting tidbit of info actually was talking with a lender about insurance, and he is seeing insurance tick up, which we haven't had to extend any of our insurance policies lately, but based on the riots actually, that insurance companies are, especially in Seattle, are bumping up their policies.
Right.
So
it's a tough situation. Yeah, it's a tough situation, and you just hope it gets under control. And like I said, we get back to a little more of a normal environment. And the Seattle market is still really strong. So in the long run, it's a good place to be. So.
Yeah, I agree. I agree for sure. East side, other markets around are super solid. Just getting into some of the markets, since we're talking about it. So overall in the Northwest, we definitely have a strong market. So, well, that's actually going to wrap up our session on a small syndication deal. So, Greg, thank you. Great information.
Glad to be here.
Yes. So our next session is actually going to be on a 100+ unit deal that we co-developed. So please join us for that, and then we'll continue with the virtual investor series. So thanks, everyone.